If you like the Daniel Blair Show, you will love Main Event Moto. Come join producer Joe and I at patreon.com/maineventmoto, where we talk Supercross, we talk motocross, and deliver 3 long-form podcasts per week with no commercials. Again, that's patreon.com/maineventmoto, or you can click the link in the bio. Thanks for watching, and enjoy this week's episode of The Daniel Blair Show.
The Daniel Blair Show, sponsored by motosport.com, Mika Metals, Race Tech, ASV Inventions, and Guts Racing.
So many storylines heading into Pro Motocross, but there can only be 10 lead stories. What? Yep, like a new haircut or a new pair of shoes, it's time for a fresh look here. And with my bursting at the seams motocross enthusiasm, I thought it was time for a little facelift. With the stacked 450 class and looming Jett, Eli, and Chase battle, the 3rd season of Hayden Deegan beefing with anyone that challenges him for a moto or two, and the return of Weege and Stu to race call, well, I wanted to give you a longer and more thorough version of the show that you and Gam Gam love so much. Don't get too comfy with the length on this one, though. All right, it's the preview show. There's obviously a lot to cover before Paula. But I think we're in for a good one, and I'll give you my best this summer. And if you like what we do, share the show with your friends and engage in the comments. I may even fire back to the dumb ones this summer. We'll see. But with that, it is time, Producer Joe. Let's drop the gate. It's the Daniel Blair Show's 2025 Pro Motocross Preview. First up is the battle between star Yamaha teammates Max Anstie, Mikkel Mosiman, and the 2-time champ Jeremy Martin. And honestly, I have no idea where to rank them in the 250 class or even against each other. First up, Max Anstie. Haven't heard anything about his return or even if he's back, and if he is, how long has he even been on the bike? His credentials put him as a 5 to 10 guy, but without solid prep in a class full of wild kids, I don't see it going super great. Tough place to be for a former Motocross of Nations winner who has turned into more of a Supercross guy and was this past season's East Coast 250 title favorite, who probably would have won it if not for the crash at Daytona that derailed his season. His teammate Mikkel Mosiman is always a mystery, and it wouldn't surprise me if he gets a podium at his hometown race at Hangtown, and it also wouldn't surprise me if after 3 rounds of the championship we go, wait, Mosiman was there? He's the most overlooked and underhyped guy in the class, maybe the entire sport, period. But he actually shreds. He finished 5th at the showdown in Salt Lake City, and nobody even remembers a single second of it. Where the heck does he finish at Paula? Will he even be there? And do you rank him higher than Max? Or his new teammate, Jeremy Martin? J-Mart will be on the gate this weekend, which was a shock to everyone when the news dropped. I have no clue where to put the 2-time champ, who is now in his 30s. Hasn't raced in a while, and was giving VIP tours at Supercross a few weeks ago. Is he a top 5 guy? Is he past his prime? Or is he right in the middle? Throw a dart. But for me, I'm the I don't care how he does, I'm just glad he's back camp, because he is a 250 motocross legend, and I would never prefer the field to be less stacked. But between Anstie, Mosiman, and J-Mart, I'm absolutely lost on where to put them. Joe Shimoda, Garrett Marchbanks, and Julian Beaumer, it's time to do something this summer. And for Joe and Garrett, they find themselves in a unique position of pressure for the exact same reason, and beating each other this summer might play a role in both of their futures. Let me explain. Joe Show was supposed to be the 3rd Lawrence. That's where his timeline put him, but due to multiple off years, I don't have him on my list of riders who could take on the Deegs this summer. The problem is, I should. There's no reason he shouldn't be a title threat, but the hype is gone, the expectations are gone, and maybe that's a good thing. The reason for the pressure is, I've heard through the grapevine that he's not re-signed with Honda yet, and instead, I've heard his name floating around with PC Kawasaki and Rockstar Husqvarna. If Honda doesn't pick up his 3rd year, he would have to beat Ty Masterpool and Garrett Marchbanks to get his PC ride back. And if Husky has issues moving forward and that opportunity dries up, you could see Joe as a free agent mid-summer, with not a lot of options on the table. He kind of has to put up this season, especially early. His tendency to be good late in championships won't work this year, so the pressure is on for a great Paula and a great first 3 rounds. Garrett Marchbanks took a gamble on himself by taking a 1-year contract with PC, and Supercross was solid, but not good enough to guarantee another contract. The 2 podiums were awesome, But with PC talking to Shimoda here and there, and with Kaida Wolf's name being brought up a little here and there too, a banger first month is needed and probably gets it done. But he's a heavy dude in a class of power, so top 5 starts probably aren't in the cards. I'd expect to see him slice into the pack all summer, most likely coming from 15th to 7th, which is impressive but not enough. Or maybe coming from 15th to 5th, which is more impressive and maybe enough. Or coming from 10th to 3rd, which is pretty ridiculous in this class and possible, and definitely would be enough to keep his spot. Juju Beaumer is not in a pressure situation with his contract, but he is with his brand. He's obviously enemy number 1 at the moment after his smack on Seth Hammaker in Salt Lake City, but the pressure comes from the perception that he's an indoor guy and just okay outside. He's actually always had speed on motocross, but the breakout has not yet come, unless you consider last year's SMX run in Charlotte outdoors. I don't, which is why he'll have to step it up this summer, not only to shake that perception, but because he's in a really rad position to earn a career number this year, and here is how that works. If a rider gets top 10 overall in points out of everyone, indoors and out, 250 and 450, overall out of everyone, you get to choose a permanent number. Kitchen took 47 when he did it, Shimoda took 30 when he did it, and if Juju can get it this year, he'd have some choices. He can take 10, which is not Chance Hymas's permanent number. He can keep 23, which Chase Sexton should have never given up, or he could also take 19, 20, 22, or his old amateur number 29, which is available. Based on the Supercross points he has now, if he has a good summer, say top 5 in points, maybe even top 7, he could mathematically get there. We'll monitor this all summer. Welcome back, Ryder DiFrancesco, Casey Cochran, and Styles Robertson. Remember him? Ryder D and Casey are back and in need of a good summer. The gas situation is confusing, and I don't even want to try to explain it, but getting a 2026 contract locked up is a priority for both of them, and a strong start to the summer could do it. The class is stacked beyond belief, which makes top 5s and even top 10s less than guaranteed, and a bad or somewhat quiet summer would lower the hype around 2 stud amateurs who both had pretty solid seasons last year. I believe they have great careers coming, but a bad perception is a tough thing to overcome if it's bad, which is why this Pro Motocross Championship is so important for both. But on the flip side, a good perception is an easy thing to keep if it's good. And a strong month of May and June would remind us how talented they both are. Where do I put them? 5 to 10? Maybe 5 to 12? But I'll definitely be watching closely for many reasons. For Styles, it's all about rebuilding. The dude is actually an outdoor shredder and a 2-time Daytona podium guy, but injuries have made him non-existent in our minds. But he may be the, wow, I forgot about him guy come midsummer, and I personally hope so. He's one of the raddest dudes in the pits and an absolute favorite in the Blair house. Drew Adams versus Mikkel Haarup versus Alexander Fedorstov. I was hoping to talk about the Cole Davies-Drew Adams rookie rivalry, which would have been a banger, but Cole is hurt and out. So it's 17-year-old Drew versus a 20-something-year-old Dutchman who aged out of the MX2s and the GPs, and an 18-year-old kid from Club MX that not many have heard of, until, of course, the SMX Next Supercross finale in Pittsburgh, which he won. Adams should live inside the top 10 all summer. He's one of the most underhyped amateur phenoms we've seen in a long time, and I watched most of it with a front row seat the last 2 years. He did everything right as an amateur, checked every box last year, and after a long drawn-out negotiation, he finally got his PC Cowie deal that should not have been debated. He then had his start to the Supercross season delayed, came in a few rounds later and got hurt. Then they did the right thing in letting him race the last 2 rounds of Supercross. That went great, in my opinion. He grabbed 2 top 10s, including 1 at the Showdown, and is the favorite to win Pro Motocross 250 Rookie of the Year. If, of course, he can beat Haarup, who I don't know much about. I have heard that he's a bad dude, and GP dudes typically do well over here in their first year on 250s. Is he a podium guy? I don't know. Top 5 or 10? Maybe. He was in MX2 last year and actually finished 5th in points, and honestly 7 to 10 is where I see him, which puts him right around Drew Adams. But that's how it goes when you don't know. You pick the one you like, and I like Drew better, so he's my pick. But wait a minute, what about Alex? Thought that was your guy. He is, and I'm extremely high on him, but the goal this summer is to get his feet wet and learn, not chase awards. Instead of starting next year as a rookie in Supercross, we decided to go old school and debut this summer. This was the older model used years ago, and even though SMX awards riders who put together a full season indoors and out, and it usually takes stacking points in both to qualify for the playoffs, it was better for Alex to start now and learn the process before he goes pro full-time in 2026. What are the goals? Take it all in. 22 motos, grab as many points as possible, get a low number next year, and SMX, well, yeah, make the top 20 if possible. No pressure, just learn to be a pro and fight with the names he's watched on TV the last few years, and maybe, just maybe, ruffle a feather or two along the way. Levi Kitchen, Ty Masterpole, Chance Hymas, and Tom Vialle are the biggest threats to take down the Deegs, but I don't think their odds are great. Levi absolutely has the speed, especially if he can get the starts. The issue is he can't guarantee the starts, and he's not as good when he's buried, which leads to the question, is the bike fast enough? It's a first-year engine. Word on the street is it's pretty solid. The power was fine on the packed starts of Supercross, but deep, loamy starts will be a bigger test. If Levi is not out front, and I mean in first on the start, can we realistically expect him to run with Hayden? Same for his teammate Ty Masterpole, who low-key has me fired up for the summer. Ty got on the bike last year on press day, the day before Paula, with no prep and no settings, and had some pretty epic rides at High Point and Redbud. And the whole season, honestly, I'm intrigued by Ty, and like many 250 riders I've already named, he is not yet signed for next year. And with no Supercross success again in a sport that rewards Supercross results, he's racing for a job, which is always a motivator. Chance Hymas broke out last year, and although Supercross was not inspiring, it wasn't really expected. But he's 1 year older, the bike is 1 year better, and I don't see a reason why he would be worse, so let's assume he's going to be better. Is he the second best in the class? Does he have the most motivation to take down Danger Boy after being cooked last summer? Possibly, and probably in my opinion. He'll have to bring that speed every week and stay off the ground, where last year he wasn't able to do both. And in a 22 Moto Championship, it can't be flashy. It has to be steady, like the other favorite, two-time MX2 World Champ, and now the two-time 250 Supercross Champ, Tom Vialle. Tom was second in points last year because he is a point stacker. And when it comes to winning championships, you have to be consistent, and that won't be an issue for Tom. That's his model, and it works indoors in a class full of psychopaths. But you can't win the Pro Motocross Championship without winning double-digit motos and most likely 4 to 5 overalls. Unless there's an uptick in speed, he'll just steady his way to second or third in points. He will have to straight up beat people, and he hasn't really done that the last 2 seasons. Regardless of his 450 move in 2026 Supercross, he should stay down in the 250s next summer. Why not? There is no rule for moto, and if there's no Deegan, then his odds would be better next year than this year. Just wanted to throw that out there. I believe that's what they'll do. Honorable mention Seth Hammaker, who is better outdoors than people give him credit for, and you gotta sorta kinda put him here after the year he's had. He's a great starter, most likely bitter after Salt Lake City, and the Michael Byrne and Dazzy effect that helped him indoors will probably carry over outdoors. It's not like they are Supercross-only people on that property, but I can't consider him a real threat in Pro Motocross this summer until I see a podium first, or at least some laps led. Hayden Deegan hasn't lost in a bit. He smashed them last summer, defended his SMX title, then won the 250 Supercross Championship around early. To say he's anything short of the best 250 racer in the world would be silly, and that's including the kids in MXGP. Come on over. The question I have is, can he be better than last summer, and does he need to be? Every year someone steps up and raises the bar, brings a little pressure to whoever the defending champ is, and as good as Hayden is right now, he's not perfect. And if he doesn't clean up one little thing, one of the names I've mentioned in this episode could capitalize. If you look back to last summer, he crashed a lot, and you can't get away with that forever. One big get-off or a couple little ones could open a door that he doesn't want opened. I actually spent a few hours last week watching clips from last summer. I told you I was a moto enthusiast, and honestly, that's all the negative I got on him. He does everything else right. He's stronger than anyone late in the motos. He eats these guys up the last 10 minutes, and outside of a few cartwheels, he's pretty unstoppable. It's his final year in the 250 class in motocross. He's already said multiple times that the plan is to move up next summer, and although there is pressure to defend the #1 plate, he seems to thrive off that. Outside of something weird, he's going to smash these dudes. 450 time, and you know the field is deep when you have three of the baddest dudes in the sport on a list and you call them the best of the rest. But with this field, Jason Anderson, Malcolm Stewart, and Justin Barcia fall right into this category. This generation is to be respected as the 30 and up crew continues to logjam the sport because honestly, nobody is pushing them out. That's how it goes. If the late 20s could beat the early 30s, the logjam would open up. But Ombre, Mookie, and Bam keep performing, which keeps them as the easy choices for 450 rides. With the depth of the field, I have a hard time putting these guys on the podium, but in reality, for them to keep their status and to keep their relevance, they don't need to. Supercross is where the checks cash. Motocross is an obligation for anyone outside of title contention, and if you're Jason, Malcolm, or Justin, you just gotta dig in, stay in the top 10, grab a 4.7 or a 5.6 here and there, and you're good. And if you're RJ Hampshire, you gotta beat these dudes. He does have a 450 ride locked up next year. He is signed, where the three guys I just mentioned are not yet. But with his wrist injury and it being his rookie season, I'm not sure I see that happening. But he's wanted this for a while, he's got it now, and the 11-round opportunity to prove he's a 450 guy sits right in front of him. If you are Hunter Lawrence, Justin Cooper, and Jorge Prado, you hate to hear that a podium is a win, and that a win this summer is not probable, but that reality is very real. It's not disrespect, but with Chase, Jett, and Eli on the gate, a third on the weekend is absolutely a win, and beating all of them on the same day is not likely. We'll start with Hunter and J. Coop. I gotta give Hunter the edge here, and I know J. Coop is coming off a great month of Supercross, and his trajectory seems to always be moving upward, but due to this point, Hunter has the resume outdoors. He was incredible last summer, and although he gets forgotten about because of his brother, he is a former 250 champ, and he had Chase on edge for 25 minutes every moto last summer. Can he be stronger late and take a leap in speed? Possibly. If you go back and watch highlights from 2024, then you shouldn't be surprised to see him leading Paula this weekend. My gut tells me we'll see Hunter and J. Coop together a lot this summer. Both are great starters, and although Hunter does have the higher ceiling, Justin has the momentum, but will either have enough to top Jorge Prado, who is making his American motocross debut this Saturday, and honestly, this one is kind of tough to read. I watched Jorge this past week at Club MX, and honestly, the dude is a magician on the bike. The way he rides and executes the power on the bike and how he chooses lines, it's different, and his craft doesn't look like the rest. But there are some things to learn this summer, and with a 3-year deal on Kawasaki, I don't see the need to push it outside of his comfort zone. It's hard to say that with his credentials, a multi-time world champion and high priority signing by Cowie, who have a history of winning this championship, but I think the high expectations need to be in check. And although he has a big fan base and the entire paddock of MXGP peeps watching, he's walking into the most stacked 450 outdoor field I can remember, ever. The reality is, it's his first season on these tracks, the race day schedule is very different, and it's his first season on this bike. He doesn't ride like Jason Anderson, Adam Cincerulo, or Eli Tomac, so there is no data, and there are no settings to start with. He's also coming back from injury, and it's his first season in the US weather system, and homeboy is about to sweat more than he ever has in his life. So to me, the pressure and expectations of winning this thing need to be simmered, and that's hard to do with his hype and his accolades, but that's the reality. This is not his best shot at this championship, and after missing the majority of his rookie Supercross season, he just needs to lay a foundation and be ready for 2026. Your defending 450 Pro Motocross champ is walking into an absolute brutal title defense, and for Chase Sexton, the approach should be simple. You are the underdog. I can make the case that Chase can win this title, but it's an easier case to make that he won't. But let's start with why he can. I'll start with momentum, which is a real thing, and even though there's a reset from Supercross to Motocross, winning momentum can be carried over because confidence can be carried over. He dominated 4 of the last 5 Supercrosses, dominated the last 6 rounds of Pro Motocross last year, and even though it was without Jett and Eli on the gate, who are there now, those were still damn near flawless and powerful performances. Confidence is real, and he's not coming back from injury like Jett and Eli. He's not on a new bike on outdoors like Jett and Eli are. Remember, Jett didn't race the new Honda 450 last summer, and Eli hasn't raced this version of the Yamaha outdoors. And Chase is race ready and bike ready after months of gate drops. Those are his advantages, and in reality, his hope and need is to crush the first 3 rounds, and he'll have a chance. He's also most likely bitter over losing a championship he believes he should have won, and that bitterness will give him an emotional bump this weekend for sure. The issue is, I can make more points on why he won't defend his title, the first being the harshest, which is that he's never beat Jett or Eli in motocross. Jett had a perfect season as a rookie, Chase was on the gate for most of it, and never really challenged him that summer. Is Jett magically worse now? Is Chase better than he was that season? Maybe, but is it enough to go head-to-head for 22 motos? Can he beat him in a moto or an overall? Yes, I believe he can and will, but we're talking about a title here, not just weekends. And as good as Chase was in 2022 in his epic championship battle with Eli, it was exactly that. Moto and overall wins, but not the title. That summer was incredible to watch, but I'm not sure Chase was better last season on his KTM than he was on his Honda against Eli. And although he went 40-1 at Hangtown and won the last 6 rounds of the championship last summer, those were again without Jett and Eli on the gate. Well, that's not actually true. Jett was on the gate at Hangtown, wounded, and Eli did race Buds and Ironman last year, but you know what I mean. If the season does start hot, if Jett and Eli are a little rusty, and if he is the points leader going east, I'll recalculate my thoughts. But if not, I could see Chase dealing with Hunter, Jacob, and Jorge more than Jett and Eli. And with the idea of him leaving KTM and maybe feeling the effects of a long Supercross season and some physical, mental, and emotional battery drainage mid-summer, he has to have a good start against rivals who haven't raced in a bit. The first 6 motos are the most important for a guy who is typically better in the last 6 motos of a championship. Shout out Cooper Webb, who is racing this summer. I honestly don't understand why. If the thumb deal is real, then why push back an eventual surgery to run around 5.8 all summer? His odds of defending his title indoors in 2026 are way better than his odds doing anything in pro motocross, but maybe he's trying to shake the image that he doesn't like or give a crap about moto, which were his words, not mine. Again, I don't get the strategy, but I'd rather have more champs on the gate than less, so again, shout out Coop. Eli Tomac could have ridden off into the sunset, he could have walked away with all our respect, could have disappeared into the mountains of Cortez and became mayor, but instead decided that something was still burning, he wasn't done, and I think he wants Jett Lawrence straight up. Hopefully this summer we get to see him take his shot, but the truth is, it hasn't gone well the past 2 Supercross seasons due to a slow return from injury in 2024, another injury in 2025, and he didn't get to race last summer due to another injury, which means we have not seen the battle we've all been waiting for. We saw a glimpse of it last year at Charlotte, but a glimpse is not enough. We want it all, and so does he. I think we're going to get it this summer. Eli's battery is fresh, he's publicly fired up, and if the 4-time champ is on the gate, I'm taking him serious. In his last full season of moto, he held off Chase Sexton, played the championship perfectly, and he has had a decent amount of time to get ready. And when you are in your 30s, energy does play a role. And without racing the past 3 months, you can guarantee that the fire is there. Will he be rusty? Maybe. But if so, it's for what, a moto or 2? We're talking about a legend here, so in all honesty, he might just fire off and win Paula. Although the odds are better for Jett, who has never lost here. Think about that. Jett Lawrence owns Fox Raceway. And although Chase has the momentum, Eli has the fire, and Jett is coming off his biggest injury when it comes to recovery time, he's still the favorite to win it. And if he does win this weekend, that will suck for Eli and Chase. I have to imagine that Jett is super motivated for multiple reasons, like seeing the #1 plate on Chase's bike and knowing that Eli's return to racing isn't about money, it's specifically about him, which should have Jett locked in for this weekend. But there are a few reasons why it might not be so easy. One being, of course, knee injuries are weird to come back from sometimes. But more importantly, the dude has to be a little distracted. He seems to be preoccupied with his modeling career, which rewarded him a trip to the lamest event on the planet, the Met Gala, and the public dispute with his former agent, Lucas Myrtle, is real and not going away. Regardless of where you stand on all of that, the reality is that Jett has to deal with it. And when you're taking on 2 badasses that really, really want to beat you, you have to be your best to fight them off. If he does win this thing and take down a 4-time champ and legend and take down the defending champ, even if it's not a perfect season, it will be the biggest championship win of his career. He went on a 7-title streak, and the momentum put him on a roll that couldn't be stopped for a bit. But he is not the defending Supercross champ anymore. He is not the defending Pro Motocross champ anymore. He is coming back from injury, and he is dealing with real-life stuff at the moment. And one more thing, he is being watched by a 250 rider who wants a piece of him bad, and we'll get him soon. I can't wait. Drop the gate already, and we'll see you next week.
MainEventMotoMerch.com. 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 MainEventMotoMerch.com.